meeting to order. To welcome members from the public. Nice to see some faces in the gallery. We have agenda that I'll ask if there are any additions or deletions to. I already have one. H4, Christmas contest winners. Are there any others? Hearing none, I'll ask for an approval of the agenda by a consensus. Okay, we have an agenda. Wonderful. First thing we have is Angelique Leblanc from the Western Regional Enterprise Network for a presentation to council. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I'll give you the floor.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm going to start my timer and try to limit my presentation to 15 minutes. So then we'll have time for questions afterwards. And I was on the agenda for last month. And my apologies, I had a car and discovered I had no car keys when I went to leave my driveway. So thanks very much for accommodating this evening. So I'm here to talk to you about the Western Regional Enterprise Network. I know some of you are familiar with the work that we do. Some of you may be less so, or we may have some new initiatives that you didn't know about. So it's always a good thing to come in and do a little bit of a refresher. I am, as you said, Angelique Leblanc. I am CEO of the REN, and I've been in this position for 10 years now. So our main offices are located in Yarmouth, but we do have staff across the region, so you're going to see some familiar faces in just a little bit. So I'll just walk you through who we are, what we do, and where our focus is. So first of all, who are we? We do economic and business development throughout the region. And our mandate really is to improve the business climate in the Western region. And we operate from Digby to Barrington, so that means that we have 5 municipal units in 2 towns in our REN. Our funding does come from both the participating municipal units and the province of Nova Scotia as well. So 2 levels of funding. And then we do a little bit of revenue generation through some of the projects that we do as well. So we would do a number of projects that are funded by the federal government. So it's always a good thing when you can take your dollars and invest in an organization, and then those dollars are leveraged. So both provincially and federally. And in some cases, we have some private dollars in there as well. So the population of our region is nearing 50,000. There has been an uptick in population in recent years. So that's a trend that we feel is positive. We're going to talk about some of the barriers of having a smaller population, a lower population in terms of what that means for the workforce. And we've been operational since 2013. So we are part of a network of RENs across the province. There's not 100% coverage across the province, but most areas are covered. There are a few gaps. There's a gap in Annapolis County and on the South Shore. And we operate very closely with the other RENs in the region. So we share information, we share strategy to a certain degree, and we have a lot of collective conversations with the province of Nova Scotia. And we have been around for a few iterations of government, so we feel like we are quite entrenched within the priorities of the provincial government, and we have a brand new department now that we are under. We were under the Department of Economic Development, and now we are, it's been renamed the Department of Economic Growth, if I'm not mistaken, and the minister is Colton LeBlanc, who is in our region. So that's a new development. So one thing I like to mention is the values that we hold. And these values we have pretty much maintained since the beginning of our REN. We have added a few along the way. And we're just in the process of undertaking a strategic planning process for the next 5 years. So you have some invitations to participate in some of that consultation that's going to happen tomorrow. And I always like to revisit these because I feel they're really important. And it is really the lens through which we look for all the work that we do. So, first of all, people. We really believe in people are the region's core strength. So the people that are here, the experience that they have, the talent that they have. Diversity is crucial to sustainability. So we talked about the fact that the population has been increasing, and that's a requirement in order to move forward and have the tax base. As you well know, the tax base is what's required to be able to offer services to the population that's here. Partnerships are the key to success. So I talked about a few partnerships that we have with our government partners, but we also partner very closely with other organizations who are in the region and in the province. So our goal is never to duplicate anybody's work, but it is to bring everybody to the table and work collectively to address some of the issues and the opportunities that we have in the region. Natural resources are the backbone of Western Nova Scotia. So we're talking about fisheries, we're talking about forestry, and we're also looking at some of the emerging technology that's out there as well, like some of the green initiatives and how they tie into our natural resources and the importance of having both of them coexist and having that understanding of the importance of both. And creativity driving entrepreneurship and innovation. We firmly believe that the people who are in Western Nova Scotia are innovative by nature. I think some of it is cultural, but some of it also is the fact that we're the distance from our government, our capital in the province, and also the fact that we are so far from Ottawa as well, is it kind of forces us to be creative and entrepreneurial, which is a positive thing. And it builds resiliency, of course. So in terms of the strategy that we have at the Western Ren, it's been pretty much consistent for the past 10 years. There are a few barriers that are quite significant that we felt that we've had to address and continue to address along the way, that are essentially barriers to doing straight up economic development. So we have to pay attention to some of these barriers as we move forward with the work that we're doing around economic and business development. So communications infrastructure, we were very much involved with the internet initiative. We were the go-between for the participating municipalities in the region and in the province, and the internet service provider, who in the case of the units that work together in our region, that was Bell. So we were instrumental in moving that file along. Cell infrastructure is a big one right now. So we're not as involved in the sense that there is progress being made at a provincial level. You may have some questions about cell service. We continue to make sure that we're on the radar provincially, that we're raising the concerns of everybody in the region, and specifically businesses as well, and the impact that has. So on doing business, and of course on safety for all residents. So there have been some positive developments on the cellular front. And then our demographic profiles. So demographically, we have an older population. We're seeing that's shifting a little bit with the amount of newcomers who are coming to the region. And I actually heard a stat that kind of surprised me last week, that within the next 10 years, we're going to have a significant increase in that younger population, which I think is really positive. So when you're looking at workforce and who's going to replace the people who are retiring, that's what we want to hear. So our strategic focus really has been increasing investment in private and public sector in the region, and also addressing talent needs. So that's kind of a high level, our high level themes. And then we have a number of initiatives to help us address those priorities. So I'll walk you through each one. First of all, increasing investment in private sector. So the tagline there is supporting the heart of our region. We truly believe that small business is the heartbeat of the region in southwestern Nova Scotia. And I always like to mention the fishing fleets that we have around our region, and each boat is a small business. So that's a huge part of our economy. So we have a few programs that we deliver to the business community. One is the Business Retention and Expansion Program. So that's a program that really is building long-term relationships with the businesses in our region. So we have a process where we sit down with them and we help identify what some of the opportunities are and sometimes what some of the barriers are to growth. So the ultimate goal is to help businesses sustain and ideally to grow. So what we do is we help them navigate the hundreds of programs that are out there. It can be overwhelming for one business to kind of sift through all of that. So we're a one-stop shop to help them navigate through some of those programs and supports. And we operate a business transition program, so business succession. So handing over the business, it could be to a family member, it could be a sale of the business to employees or to an outside party. So we work in that space as well. And then our continuous improvement program. So continuous improvement is changing the culture within a business. So identifying waste within a company. So it can be waste in actual material that you're using. It could be waste in time and how you're allocating your human resources within the company. So the goal is to introduce efficiencies to have bottom line impact. And then the added value of that we've really seen over the years is that because the process involves the management of the company or the ownership, but also the employees. So the employees are the ones who understand the business and know how things work. So they're able to identify things that could possibly be addressed to work better. So then you have a more engaged workforce who feel like they're being heard in the workplace. And that, of course, they feel happier, they feel rewarded at work. Work becomes a little bit easier, so retention rates go up because of the program as well. So those are the three that we focus on when it comes to private sector. So public sector, this one involves, so you're our funders, but we also see you as our clientele as well. So things that we can address within the public sector, that things that have an impact on businesses and doing business in Western Nova Scotia. So we have been involved in energy. So we know the grid's an issue. We know that we have limited capacity, especially in this region with the 69 kilovolt lines, and that we have room for a little bit of growth, but it's finite. So oftentimes there have to be conversations that happen with Nova Scotia Power, and it's hard to attract investment when you can't guarantee that there's going to be a certain supply. So that's one thing that is of interest to us. And one of the methods that we have been focusing on is to try and relieve some of the burden that's on the grid. And we had and some of you may remember, Evan Nemeth came in a few times probably and talked about an energy usage study that we had done. And what we identified was that the single biggest draw are residential customers. So we are focusing on trying to reduce the load from a residential point of view. And there are a number of programs out there to do so. So we're trying to focus to get some capacity to be able to help homeowners navigate some of those programs as well. So, and of course, free up some additional room on the grid. And access to reliable internet, I've talked about, and cell service. And why Western Nova Scotia? You can see one of that's our glossy investment attraction work. We focus on fisheries, forestry, and renewables, and really where they intersect is the sweet spot. And it's written in investment language. So when site selectors, they use very specific terminology. They're looking to compare other comparable regions to be able to make a decision. So all that work is written in that site selection language. And then our fun, phenomenal project, our Get Sidetracked project. So we received funding this past year from what was at the time the Department of Economic Development to have a look at our rails to trails. So over 200 kilometers of rails, of ancient rail beds, I guess, former rail beds throughout the region. And we're looking at getting rail traffic off of the trails and into local businesses where it's legally accessible, and having businesses thinking about maybe how they can better serve the trail users as well. We feel there's a huge economic opportunity there, and we'd like to see more activity happening around the trails. So that one is extremely interesting. We've had a lot of support around that as well. And it's great to see initiatives in Digby like the bridge that was built, and it's kind of all the stars are aligning as well, where some of the major arteries are being opened up to ATV traffic as well. I said I'd keep it to 15 minutes, so I'm going to try and speed up a little bit. The last one is addressing talent needs. So that's all around workforce and how we try and access everybody who's in the region and get them gainfully employed. A lot of newcomers in the region we see are working, but maybe they're underemployed. So maybe they're able to do other, maybe higher value jobs, but they're just not able to build that network quite yet to get to there. Sometimes it's recent grads who are looking to really connect into the region. And we operate it's a formal networking program to help people try and build that network, that professional network. So Miranda McLean is the manager of our connector program. So she lives here in Digby. And then planning regionally for immigration and population growth. So we've just launched a population growth plan that has some projections on how the region is expected to grow within the next amount of time. And then thinking about some of the infrastructure and services that are going to be needed to support that population growth. And making it easier to hire skilled international talent. So supporting our private sector when it comes to immigration and recruitment, and it's extremely complex, and we want employers to be supported in that process. So there are some specific initiatives that we are doing around that. So last thing I wanted to show you was just some faces. So you'll see that we actually have from Digby, we have Miranda McLean, who is second to last on the right. And then we also have Michelle Levings, who is on the right, the bottom from Digby. So we do have staff, as I said, across the region. But you can really reach out to any one of our staff members, and our team is very tight-knit. So we're able to kind of, point you in the right direction within the organization. So we encourage you to reach out to any of us. And when you're out there and you're speaking to businesses, especially, I'd like you to ask them if they know about us, first of all. And if they do, that's great. You can ask them about the experiences that they've had with us, but also don't be afraid that if they've not heard of us, to please send them our way. So with that, I'll pause and see if you have any questions that hopefully I can answer.
Actually, I'm waiting for your time because I have a business owner who has a question for you.
Okay.
He, in relation to succession planning,
Yep.
if he wanted to sell his business and couldn't find a buyer, would you help
Yeah,
with that?
we can assist. Yeah, and clearly, I mean, that's the most difficult part of it is finding those buyers. So we're also working with, for example, we work with the province of Nova Scotia to look at the entrepreneur program that they've recently revamped to look at buyers coming from the outside as well. But yeah, it's something that we can help support to look at some options. Yep. Yep, and it's a long process, the sale of a business. And what we're seeing, and I'm not speaking, I mean, I don't know the details of this particular case. It's certainly not always the case, but it's the kind of thing that sometimes business owners have left it for a while. So the circumstances are sometimes, it's difficult. So we encourage businesses to come forward and see what can be done. So
He's a ways out, but he wants to start sort of
yeah.
now to see what his options.
Perfect client in that case. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
Sure. In terms of energy infrastructure, mentioned the low capacity that we're able to have down here.
Yeah.
Have there been any discussions with Nova Scotia Power about the potential to actually upgrade our energy infrastructure in the area?
Yeah, there have. I mean, we continue to kind of, bring it forward, bring our concerns forward. There have been some opportunities to engage, and Tom, I think you've been a part of some of those conversations. We've not. The reason why we continue to do that, but we know we have to focus at reducing some of the load as well, because we know that it's a huge investment for Nova Scotia Power. And I don't feel like it's something that's on the near horizon, I think is probably fair to say. But if you're looking for kind of details around those conversations, I'm sure that I know we had sent a summary of one of the last meetings, Tom, so I'd be happy to resend that too if you want to share that. Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
In terms of a new business who wants to have some help,
Yeah.
what's the best way to approach you? Is it to go to your office, give a call,
Yep.
visit a local representative? Which one of those would be the best way to start?
Yep. So if it's a business looking for support, like, maybe sometimes they're looking to grow, they're looking for more workers, whatever the case may be. I'd say our website is probably, you can send them to our website. You can tell them to send us an inquiry or give us a call. But if you want to connect somebody directly to me too, that's fine. Like I said, I mean, we can kind of triage within the team. So whatever your comfort level is, if you know Miranda, if you know Michelle, you can send them through them as well. So
yeah, so like a consultation, for instance.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
a visit to the office or.
Yep.
Or
and what we would probably do is we are on the road, so we would probably send our Business Now lead straight to that person to visit them in the workplace, so they don't even have to. They don't have to drive to Yarmouth. They don't have to. They don't have to leave their place of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Question, is there a
Microphone, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, is there,
Mike, please.
is there a,
Thank you.
There we go.
is there a final report on the activities with the rail bins? Is that ongoing?
No, it's ongoing right now. So we recently hired on a 6-month contract a coordinator who's putting together a program for businesses. So we're just starting out, and I didn't mention, but we're also looking at building a couple rest stops in quotation, because we're not looking at building a lot of infrastructure, but we're looking at a few washrooms along the way, and maybe some points of interest that we can kind of develop, so that if somebody wants to leave, the way we frame it is kind of, river to river. So from Bear River to Clyde River, a couple stops along the way that maybe there was nothing there prior, that will make it a little bit more interesting for the riders. Yeah.
You work with Bay Ferries in Yarmouth or here in Digby to talk about maybe some electric scooters, electric bikes, both. I mean, we have a larger distance to go from the ferry terminal to town.
Yeah.
This is a little closer, but you certainly couldn't walk the other end of town from the ferry. But
Yeah.
have you spoken to those companies about that?
We have not spoken about that. That's really interesting. I'm making a note of it. We have thought about the opportunities for ATV traffic via the ferries, but we haven't talked about that specifically. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions for Angela?
Not so much question. I did do some research on you guys. You're doing great. I believe you're 10 years this year.
Yes. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for coming. It's always interesting to hear what Enterprise is doing.
Yeah.
See if we can help and get some other initiatives started and work together.
Yeah. Fantastic, and thank you very much for your support for these past 10 years. So yeah, thank you.
We'll move on with the minutes from the November the 18th meeting. Have a chance to read those, and if there are any errors or omissions in those minutes. Okay. A consensus that the minutes are approved. All right. Sounds good. And no business arising from the minutes. we'll move on to staff reports for the chief administrator. Oh.
Okay, first thing under development officer, previous, month, there were 5 development permits issued. One for 245 Shore Road for a single-family dwelling with attached garage. Number 81 First Avenue, construction of a front deck. 51 Second Avenue, installation of a larger basement window. 122 Lighthouse Road, a 10 by 12 accessory building, and 65 Water Street, deck at rear of the building. Development agreement for the Holland Road project has been drafted and are waiting for the final copies of the site plan, stormwater plan, and elevation to be provided for the developers, engineers, and architects. And I've had further conversations with the representative of Brighter Community Planning and Consulting concerning a proposal for a multi-unit residential development on Carlton Street. I am in receipt of correspondence for council's consideration. The correspondence will be tabled in the in-camera session. Building inspections, the previous month there were 4 building permits issued. 245 Shore Road for the construction of the single-family dwelling. 111 Warwick Street to renovate apartments for hotel and motor inn. 22 Carlton Street repairs and for a single-family dwelling, and 51 Second Avenue renovation of a single-family dwelling. Fire inspections, there were no fire inspections to report for the last month. The fire department responded to 9 calls during November of 2024, 2 MVCs, 3 alarm sounding, 2 tent fire, 1 brush fire, and 1 mutual aid. So there were 3 calls within the town and 6 calls in the district. Office of the CAO, the council meeting and procedure policy, the council meetings and procedure policy was reviewed by counts at the council planning team building session held on Saturday, December 7th. The proposed amendments will be incorporated into a draft document that will be tabled at the January committee of the whole meeting for council's consideration. Land acknowledgement policy. The need for a land acknowledgement policy was discussed. Staff will research the policy, and the policy is anticipated to be drafted to table it to January committee of the whole meeting for council's consideration. RID application. The RID application was approved by myself and then submitted at 10 a.m. Wednesday, December the 11th. The total project cost estimate includes contingency as well as HST rebate. Contingency was calculated at 15%, and eligible costs for the grid application included street construction, landscaping, and contingency portion. Grant coordinator will be looking at a possibility of getting those costs, $493,752 covered in the SHIFT grant application. And that's my report.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions for the CAO on his report?
111 Warwick Street. It's an apartment. Someone turning an apartment building into a hotel and inn? Is that what that read?
That's basically what it said on the report I got from the building inspector. Report building inspection. Or, I don't remember that coming across my desk.
Yeah.
So I'd have to look into that. I just haven't had a chance to speak to him.
Usually goes the other way.
Yeah.
Hotel into apartments.
Yeah.
15% contingency for Thomas Road, Tom. Have you seen with other CAOs the level of construction and the cost going up and down? Really crazy amounts. Does that settle down a little bit?
I think that, the prices that we got estimated, our engineer estimated, took into consideration, a lot more accurate than they were in the past, and I do believe it's somewhat settled in pricing, and, now that interest rates are on the way back down again, and certain things, I think it will, settle out for it's our best guess at this point, and wanted it to be, I guess, a liberal guess, and, so that we would have enough to be able to do the project, so.
Anyone else questions for Tom? No? All right. We'll move on to the Director of Public Works, Mr. Vaughn.
Been in discussions with the Department of Fisheries in regards to information about our lift stations. I received and reviewed the cost estimate for the 3rd Avenue West Street design. I did a 5-page review of the 5-ton truck for potential purchase. So the KFC sign, the current owner received an email on July 4th, 2024. They keep the sign in place for 6 months before it had to be removed. And I do have a copy of the email, and so does the CAO. We opened and reviewed the generator tenders, and I reviewed with the CAO from the district possible expansion of a couple lots in the industrial park. And just a reminder to everybody that the winter parking regulations are in effect. We have had a few issues along Water Street, and I have given out numerous warnings to the motorists downtown that continue to park there. We finally installed the services on Lighthouse Road for an addition to a house up there, and the 2-inch service and 6-inch service on Victoria Street for the 80 units that's being placed there. So just to equipment there, the turbo's been replaced on the 1-ton, and it was the cost of just shy of $5,000. And we ordered new backhoes for the new tires for the backhoe, cost of $4,400. So the old backhoe is in Bedford currently. We thought the original repair was going to be between $7,000 and $8,000. And when they took the transmission apart, they called me today, actually, late today, and said that there could be an extensive repair, and they're getting me a price, so I have for tomorrow. So we won't know what it is until tomorrow, for sure. Replaced the tires in front of the tractor, and we installed the new amber light on top of the tractor. All the bathrooms have been winterized for the winter, the 3 bathrooms. You'll see down under the transfer station, the budgeted revenue was $4,000, so we added the debit machine there, and currently we're sitting at about $63,300 in revenue there, so it's definitely paid for itself. And I attended a workshop in Yarmouth on December 3rd for stormwater management, by Stantec. They were hired by the province of Nova Scotia to complete the review of stormwater management within the municipal units in Nova Scotia, and they held numerous sessions throughout the province. Basically, it was just a fact-finding mission for them. They're going to be doing a complete report for the province, which will be in place, which the province will have in January, and it'll be a public document for anyone that wishes to review it. So it was actually a good session to attend. So that's everything I have.
Any questions for the Director of Public Works on his report?
Mr. Chair, who is the person that is fixing these repairs? Who's the company that we are using right now?
On the backhoe? In Bedford?
It's Brandt Tractor. Yeah, John Deere.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our next report from the Director of Finance, Mr. Raymond.
Report report is in your package. The employee pension plan, which we keep track of. We don't have an employee defined benefit plan, but we do have a defined contribution plan. And we always look for the best value for our employees. Just so everybody knows, a defined contribution plan is simply everyone is putting in a sum of money, the town is matching that amount that the employees are putting in, and the employees get to choose from various mutual funds within their pension. So it's not like a provincial pension as you would see, or at some municipalities. But we always look for value there, and we look at the management expense ratios of the funds that are available. And it looked like some of ours were getting to be not as competitive as they could be, so I had a conversation with our fund investment advisor, and he's going to see if there's any way to get some of those fees down. For example, the fees being charged on certain mutual funds that you could buy on the open market, anybody, one in particular they're charging 0.6%, so that's everything you own right off the top every year, whereas anybody in their Royal Bank investment account or Scotiabank could get that at 0.05% per year on that same fund. So we want to see if we can get those fees lower. We're going to set up the employee advisor one-on-one appointments for January, so they'll sit down with every single employee who's part of the pension plan and help them plan their contributions, make sure they're invested in the right areas, make sure they're not taking on too much risk or not taking on too little risk if they're young and need growth. Also, I discussed with them that we'll be having a look at the provincial defined benefit plan just to make our investment advisors aware, because that in the long run maybe that will be advantageous to our employees. So it's worth investigating and making inquiries on that. Not a lot else to report here. There is a bit of a change in the Procurement Act. We can now give a 10% preference to Nova Scotia bidders for bids on amounts that are under the Canada Free Trade Agreement thresholds. So not on our large contracts, but on the smaller contracts. And unless there's any questions, those are the main items.
How is the deed transfer tax looking, Matthew?
It's looking still good. I think last report I can't remember where we were, but the November deed transfer tax just came in today, and that was $16,000. So certainly, probably 6,000 or more than expected. So it's still, the market's either running a little hotter than we thought it would be, or the prices are a little higher than we thought they would be. I didn't look to see which, but certainly we're going to come in way over budget on the transfer tax revenues.
And all of our renters have paid?
Haven't checked all of them. I normally have that as part of my report. I'm not aware that anyone is behind at this point, and I don't think they are. I can't say that with certainty, but it's certainly much better than it was. And I do have my second report.
Just one quick question.
Sure.
Do you happen to know what the CFTA thresholds are? You did say it's for smaller amounts, but
they're quite high. So goods, services, and construction are each a different amount, and I can't remember whether it's 25,000 on goods, 50,000 on services, and construction maybe 100,000, somewhere in that range for the Canada Free Trade Agreement amounts.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for questions for the Director of Finance? No one? Okay.
There is the second report.
Yeah.
And not really a lot to report at this point in time. Just the statements are there for you, and if you have any questions, please let me know. The second page. The capital one is really just for information, just so you can see how things are progressing along or if not progressing, and there's certainly reasons for each of those. It's just to prompt questions in case anyone has questions.
It's good to keep an eye on the numbers.
So we're likely to come in under budget on the new plow truck. Is that, or I guess we're gonna discuss that later?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a positive in my opinion.
Yes.
It's got two parts, so.
Oh, yeah.
Ruin the surprise.
That's a positive number on it.
Let's discuss positive when you discuss the repair business.
We're not getting snow this year.
Okay, any other questions on that second report from the Director of Finance? Good, okay, great, thank you very much, Matthew. And Special Constable, Miss Lori Newman.
Thank you. Starting off with the dangerous and unsightly. 3 Maiden Lane is November 25th. The owner has rebuilt and insulated the porch, repaired the leak in the front room, installed smoke detectors throughout the apartment, contacted the tenant, indicated they were happy with the work done, indicated their health is also improved for both them and their mother. 27 West Street, complaint received surrounding lack of movement of the neighbor and the retaining wall. The neighbor agreed to install a fence to block the view of the hill, so to be more aesthetically pleasing. Email sent to the neighbor on an agreement in place. Neighbor agreed to start addressing complaint. 10 Carlton Street, owner had been hand delivered a notice of tax sale on November 26, 2024. 53 Racket Road, contacted the owner about the demolition date. They have since been trying to acquire some demolition permits, so although they've exceeded the end of their date of November, there is forward movement in getting the site demolished. 145 Victoria Street, they've also received a notice to cut their grass, as well as 132 Victoria Street. 88 Victoria Street received an additional complaint about their trailer sitting near the road being unsightly. Went to speak with the homeowner. They later called and became very upset with me being on site. They later wanted to find a lawyer and find who's responsible for the complaint, take legal action. I refused to give since it was an informal complaint. Since then, they have agreed to move the trailer and clean up the renovation material for the property. 21 Maiden Lane received an email complaint concerning the condition of a shed located on the property. The building is in poor condition and appears to be falling down. Site is current condition, serves as refuge for rodents and other wildlife. Notice was sent to the owner. Census report was written. They have since contacted me back and has agreed to demolish the building by February or earlier if contractors are available to do so. 58 Water Street received a complaint concerning the condition of the building and how it appears to be settling away from Water Street, as well as also being compromised by the neighboring building beside it. Complainant wanted to remain anonymous and did not file a formal complaint. My presence on site was gained movement from the owner. Investigated. I felt the site required an inspection by a trained professional to determine the structural integrity. After my inspection, the owner had an engineer on site to inspect the building. Since then, no list of repairs or timelines have been submitted to bylaw. 56 Water Street, we're investigating another complaint. It's brought to my attention the building seems to be compromised structurally. It should be inspected by a professional as well. I've sent a notice off to the owner as of November 29th, asking for an inspection on that site as well. 28 Water Street received an in-office complaint from a tenant residing at the residence. Tenant came with photographic evidence and wanted to file a complaint concerning the site's condition. Investigated and found the site to be in violation of several bylaws and decided to file a document to submit to the building department to hopefully have the building undergo a building inspection and a fire inspection and ensure structural integrity of the site. Ongoing investigation required. And 19 Warwick Street, the broken and damaged siding has finally been repaired on the front of the building. And that's the dangerous and unsightly.
You've had a busy month.
It comes in serious waves at times, I can assure you.
Yeah.
It definitely does.
Going to. Are there any questions for Special Constable and her first report? No?
Alright, if there's no questions, I'll move on to professional
Sure.
services.
Thank you.
CCTV report, the request for the quote was sent to the security if you will, a 365 monitoring of the service would be an additional $150 per year. I could probably get a better breakdown on the quote if it is requested. This is just rough numbers that I've got right now. So it would be $646.26 to be able to have the site brought back online remotely and receive push notifications should it go offline. Civic address, 4-point changes, 3 civic changes to the NASCAR system, new development on Victoria Street now, civic assigned, vending license, we had Christmas craft show and a Gothic Christmas craft show, licensed in November. Taxi license, the feud between two taxi companies continues. One company contacted Violet, having pulled a recently issued license from the car due to tinted windows, emailed the RCMP. The email from RCMP stated that the windows are under the officer's discretion to impose a fine. RCMP have looked into car's condition. No word from the RCMP stating the windows are not approved. Solid Waste Management, 19 Prince William Street, received a email, phone call complaint concerning the waste left roadside. Investigating, found no windows left on the side. Believe it was a miscommunication with the hauler. Believed to be the cause for the items left roadside. Tenant was given all available solid waste info, given hands-on tutorial on separating waste. Language barrier consideration has now been addressed with Google Translate. Tenant is said to be moving, making this a potential for a reoccurring issue. 45 Montague Road received an email complaint concerning material left in back of the property near First Avenue. Items appeared to have been commercial in nature and had been part of someone's livelihood. Delivered a notice on November 22nd. Giving them another 14 days to address the debris in the back of the yard. Since the notice was delivered, the site has been cleaned up. 59 Sydney Street received a call concerning residual waste piled around the property. Investigated, found the site to have household material piled behind the house against the shop. Delivered a notice and since have received a contact from the owner, and they have also resolved the issue, cleaning that area as well. And then I just included a little blurb at the end of the violations about people from the outside surrounding municipality coming to my office and trying to seek help. Again, I try to provide public service to anybody who shows up, although there are times when I am genuinely not able to help people, so I can simply just provide them direction to seek help in any way I can. But having said that, sometimes it can tie up the office when someone comes in and sits down and wants to have a chat for a while about an issue that I can't genuinely help them with. Just to let you know. And that's the service.
Lorelei, when you're contacted by someone in the municipality, do you send that to someone in the municipality?
I do. I usually double check because they are always telling me, well, I've been there and they directed me here. So sometimes I'll double check and verify back to the municipality to make sure they did in fact go that route, or maybe they were misdirected and went somewhere that they thought they were supposed to go. So I always try to follow through and double check on that. I've pointed people in direction of legal aid to Annapolis side of things, depending on where they're located, because they're just unsure who to really seek, or even to the tenancy board. I have some people that come to me seeking information around buildings and what to do, and it's out of my jurisdiction, so I direct them to the tenancy board. But sometimes it's just an ear to listen for 5 minutes and get some information on where to go is quite a benefit to the public. So just kind of wanted to let you guys know that although it's not within my jurisdiction, we do what we can.
Any questions on traffic services? No? Great. Thank you very much for your report. Moving on, we'll ask the grant coordinator for his report.
All right, so completed the Celebration Canada grant, which is a grant we get for having our Canada Day celebration down at the park there. Grid application did get put in last week, and the Canada Summer Jobs application I just finished today. I did spend a couple of seminars in on the CHIF grant. So the grid grant is provincial, the CHIF grant is federal. That will be started in, I'll start writing that in January. Currently, without me putting a single word in, it's a 38-page grant. So it's going to take me a little while to write it. I'm not sure if anybody looked, but I did do some upgrading on the YouTube page, just some organization so that when people are going to watch our videos, they can actually go to each year. They were They were pretty well in place, but I just organized them a little bit better, as well as I did on the webpage as well. And I finished the online FOIPOP class, so at times I can help the director of finance. That's me.
Any questions for the grant coordinator?
Has the grant coordinator found us any money in the last month? Did you approve for any, I guess would be a better question.
No, we're still waiting. I sent an email to my contact because I know what you're talking about. I sent an email to my contact and I have gotten nothing.
Okay.
Because it is the end of fall.
Yes, it
We
is.
got a few more days before fall is over.
That's why I sent it before the end.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No? Okay. We have one more piece of business it's under senior management. And that is a request, I guess, to read the whole motions for, you want to send that to council, Tom?
Yes, that was the actual, resolution that's come from council.
Yes, so I guess it's, we need to make a motion to send to council. Senior management recommends to the committee of the whole. Council supports the application to the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund, the Thomas Road Development Project that we discussed a little bit earlier, the funding. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second that.
Seconder. We have a motion on the floor. If anyone wants to speak to it, Mr. Mayor, you were first. You made the motion. Okay, anyone else? Any discussion? No? All right. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Send that to council. Okay, now that we have all the reports, could I have a motion to accept all of the reports as they were presented?
I'll make a motion that we accept the reports as presented by the senior management staff.
Thank you, Councillor McCormick. Anyone else for seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Foot. All those in favor of those reports being accepted?
Aye.
Any contrary minded? The ayes have it. Motion is carried. Correspondence. On to G1, crosswalk painting proposal. Want to speak to that one, Tom, or Mr. McCormick?
So we get, that one we have a request, from Digby Salvage and Disposal and the Digby West Community Church. We would like to make a proposal, and we'd love to see the crosswalks on the corner of Victoria and Mount Street painted as a memorial to our veterans. The location is close to our Legion branch, number 20, and would be a wonderful reminder to our town that we appreciate the service of those in our military. Just as other crosswalks have been painted around town for special groups, we think this would be a great addition. We will all pay for the painting of these if the town would agree to do so. We have included some pictures of crosswalks that have the same theme from other towns. Thank you for your consideration. Western Church and Digby Salvage and Disposal.
I know there was some discussion that poppy might not be suitable to actually put on the crosswalk. But
yeah,
we certainly could talk to the Legion and see what their preferences are. Is there any discussion on that communication?
I believe there is some pictures there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, honestly. We talked about it, but.
Yeah, it seems a good idea for us to reach out to the Legion, especially with the poppies being, whether they should be or shouldn't be on the ground. Just, I think it's the act of just walking on it.
Yes.
That probably may not work. The other picture does seem like it would probably be one that would maybe be more suitable for what we're looking to do. And I guess regardless, we should make sure we get back to Mr. Thomas and the Wesleyan Church and thank them for their offer, for both bringing it up, but also the offer to help cost of completing it.
I noticed that the crosswalks were actually painted today in customary white, so they're already, you had them all done. So that's, would they paint over that or in between what's already there, or?
Like we paint in between it, as long as we maintain our two solid white lines on the outside of it, then we can paint inside of it. So,
Okay.
yeah, but basically you paint, if you went with, I think it's the red and white, lest we forget, then that would be the preference from the traffic authority side, for sure, so, yeah.
And would we be looking at painting these in the spring, I would assume?
That would depend on,
That would be waste.
We'd have to, or wait till late summer, so that it's there for Remembrance Day.
Yes.
That might be the
Yeah,
opposite
so
for that.
quite quickly with it.
Yeah, they do fade out with the turning vehicles and stuff, so.
Okay. So I guess if we could get staff to require the Legion and to thank the Wesleyan Church and Delivery Salvage and Disposal.
Can I add to that?
Certainly.
Chair?
go right ahead.
Chair, I believe maybe we should use it as an unveiling for Remembrance Day as well. That'd be pretty cool. We can ask Mr. Thomas about that.
An unveiling for Remembrance Day or for the reopening of Mount Street?
Either or.
Okay. All right. Moving forward, we have a letter from Zach Emery. The council read his letter. Do you have any discussion on his letter?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I'll state that I've been to his business multiple times. I've never been there on a Friday evening, but have been there 2 different times on Saturdays and Sundays. It's not a raucous, loud, crazy spot whatsoever. I'm honestly kind of surprised that there's a noise complaint coming out of the location there. I think the loudest thing I've ever heard there before is the TV when someone's sitting there playing video games. Yeah, in terms of the business, I think it's good to have a different business that's downtown. And I guess just from personal experience, never really heard anything that's louder than a conversation happening in the place. So yeah, a little surprised to see a noise complaint coming from there.
I guess I'm confused as to maybe special counsel, you can enlighten me. Why would there be a noise complaint if his business is open until 11? And that's when the noise bylaw comes in effect, right?
It is, certain times that I'm not sure if it's in this letter, or when I was speaking to them on the phone, they said they sometimes carry over past 11. Let's say they're in the middle of a board game or some game that they're playing down there, and it goes past 11 o'clock. Essentially the business is closed outside, but they're still maybe generating a little noise until they finish doing what they're doing inside and playing the game. Apparently that's been the cause for tension between the tenant upstairs and the business owner.
So in your opinion, would this be more of a landlord complaint than a bylaw noise complaint?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, because my thought is this: if you had, let's say, the Club 98 downtown, and there was tenants above it, that business stays open past the time for even our noise bylaw for the town. So I would assume under the bylaw, they would have to make a written letter, just like you see here, and ask for that permission or exception. That's the way I'm understanding it. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the bylaw too, but that's why I recommended that they put it in writing. Ask for counsel. This also ties them to the agreement also. So if this is what they're asking for, they can't exceed it now and go till like say midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, like this is what we have them tied to. So I can't necessarily say it's a landlord issue. I think it's kind of a both, me personally, but that's just my personal opinion on the bylaw. I think bylaw could be open for a legislative interpretation, just the way it's worded. So I made them, submit a request to you guys as per the bylaw request. So I guess I don't want to say I'm pushing it off on you guys, but I kind of am, because I'm not sure really what to say here.
Under the bylaw, is that the section that requires a $50?
They would have to pay for the service to have that exemption.
Right.
And again, they're only suspecting a potential 6 months where they might need this to be this way, so again, it's a council decision as to what you guys want to agree with or not. I would assume that maybe some other businesses downtown that either in a bar or something like that may have done this in the past, or perhaps they've been in place longer than that bylaw has been in place. I'm not 100% sure. So I wasn't sure what you guys did in the past, but I figured this would at least bring it to the table and we'd all be able to discuss it.
Sure, absolutely. Councillor Weir first, and then Tom.
Yes, as we discussed before, Mr. Chair, the bylaw says until 11. If you read in his letter, it says the specific hours I'm requesting are for Tuesdays to Thursday. I would like to extend it until 11. So it makes no sense. So we can send him a thing and say, sure, go ahead.
I guess my recommendation would be not to give a single business an exemption, because it opens up the door to every single business that we have downtown or anywhere in town to say, well, all I gotta do is get council to give me an exemption, and I can run until whatever times. And it's just an administrative nightmare. It can be, and would be. And I just think that by doing this, council would set a precedent that, we couldn't turn away from, basically. And I find it hard to believe that he needs anything. We have not had formal complaint, to my knowledge, from the tenant about the noise. So this is an internal conversation that's going on between the two tenants, and so we don't really need to be involved in that type of situation. And if he's only asking for 11 o'clock, the bylaw is at 11 anyway, so there's no real need for an exemption.
So what, Jess, Mr. Mayor?
I guess I concur with Tom. I think it's more of an internal thing. As for a fee for $50, my understanding is if I'm gonna do something around the street, then I have to apply for that extension for a fee. We don't do business licenses anymore, so I don't know how we have any jurisdiction over that anyway.
Well, if it would, any exemptions that have been granted in the past have been for groups or organizations that are doing an outdoor event that may go beyond 11 o'clock at night. And that exemption is for that one event only, and not for forever and ever and ever. So that's the other thing that I'd be cautious about. You give him an exemption, he's gonna think that it's forever, right? If he sells to somebody else, they'll think they get it forever. So.
And I guess the other thing too is getting back to the bylaw enforcer, which he used Clemenoney as an example. The noise from the bar is getting a complaint from people outside, like the residents across the street. We got complaints from that. We're not getting any complaints from outside of that business. It's only upstairs. So that's to me, that's calling the landlord and saying I have a problem, right? Because we don't hear it on the street. So.
Just to conclude, when they first reached out to me, their request was for Friday until midnight. So I do find it funny that on here the request is Tuesdays and Thursdays till 11. But I wasn't going to say if that's what the request is, and it's pretty much resolved by the paperwork itself. But having said that, the phone call was the one day, Friday till midnight, and I requested them to write you a letter, and this was the letter. So there was genuine reason to direct them to at least ask, because if it would have been this that I would have received, I'd have told them that they didn't need to write out because it was till 11 anyway. So just kind of wanted to mention that.
Okay. So I'm guessing, Shane, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It also states, as we read before, after he would like the exemption until 11. Fridays, I would like to have an exemption until Friday. which makes no sense. So I don't even know what he's asking here.
It looks like he rewrote it and didn't put the information back in, yeah. But I mean, we can only go what's in front of us, right?
So, the way I see it, if he's already had the RCMP there and he says that it's been, they haven't found any reason to interfere, then the problem's solved. The RCMP has been there, they've witnessed it, and they've said it's okay by them. So then it just becomes a private matter between two people. And they'll have to settle it between them or with the landlord. I don't think it is, if it was an apartment and an apartment, we wouldn't get involved as a town, so they're both renters. Whatever they do there is up to them. They'll have to figure it out between.
So I guess what I'm hearing from the committee is we should probably send a copy of the bylaw and a letter of correspondence. Would that suffice? Okay. Perfect. All right, that settles that one. We have a letter from Saskia Gertz next on the agenda. We read through that. And Mr. McCormick, did you get a copy of that too? Yeah. Read that? Okay.
Yeah.
There were some issues there around sanding and salting.
Yeah, and I may I'll explain
Sure,
that.
go right ahead.
So that evening, the 5-ton truck actually blew a hydraulic hose. I had to call in 4 employees just to work on that while we took the 1 ton to try to salt. And it just, with all the havoc that was going on, it just got missed. Plain and what that street just got, that little piece got missed is what happened. So that was on us, but it wasn't intentional by no means, so.
Sure. Okay. I know too that we did speak as a council about the tree, and I guess that never got communicated. The mayor had said that she was going to speak, the last mayor was going to speak to her, and that didn't happen. So perhaps we need to actually send that in a correspondence to her, a decision about the tree. Okay, that solves that one. Anything else in that letter that we should address?
Sure, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So I will say, I spoke to her about the tree as well, and did inform her that, we had a discussion around it at this point in time. We weren't looking at removing the tree, but, in conjunction with that, spoke about we talked about Wayfair signs, around town.
Yep.
And that, with the formation of our new council, we would be having that as a discussion. And, maybe that's something that right now we could add to our next, committee of the whole, agenda, is to, put that on there so we pick it back up and get it completed by spring. So that way the businesses in town know, where they can and cannot have signage. But, both of those items have been discussed with Saskia. So, I think more, this might be, I'd like some, I guess a response, I think is what she's looking for, but also an update on the Wayfair signage.
I think so too. I think she's just looking to be heard more than anything. Sure. She has some points there too. Maybe if we could make it a point just to add on to our next committee whole speak about Wayfair. Okay. We'll deal with that. And maybe in the meantime, we could address Saskia with the correspondence and bring her up to date. Okay. That would be wonderful. Okay. Any other comments on that letter?
Well, actually, one other thing, I think it's the last point that she's got on there about trees. And I believe, Tom, we've had a brief discussion on this before, but, do we need to talk more about what we're putting in town for trees? So that she mentions invasive species, but also, when does somebody have the right to take down a tree? Do we need to talk about whether we need to have restrictions on property owners just going in and cutting everything down?
Clear cut.
Yeah. So is it probably once again like worth having a conversation around to see if there's any other towns that might have similar tree or other greenery related bylaws that exist.
Maybe we'll ask staff sort of.
I believe that you look after the tree situation, don't you? Maybe just give a little update how you take care of the trees.
Basically, if you go start with the tree planting, yes, we do plant a lot of maple trees, but maple trees do grow. We have tried identified some of the other trees, and we've lost the majority of them, and then we have 2 left of the ones that are maple trees, basically. So that's why you see us planting so many maple trees, and they just do well here. And as for all of our big trees, we were very unlucky, like most other towns. Dutch elm disease hit us, and it was just too late once it hit us. We tried to treat some of the trees, but it just didn't work. And the disease has spread across the town, and we have very, very few elms left. And it's only a matter of time before there's none left. We do have 2 American elms out of the VIC, and they seem to be growing and doing well, but they're a very young tree, so only time will tell. So, and we do hire a tree company to come in and do all of our pruning and cutting of our trees. So we do look after our trees in town, and when it comes to residential properties, there's really nothing that we have right now to tell people they can't cut a tree down. So,
Beech trees are in distress province-wide. There's another epidemic in that tree, and we're gonna lose a lot of those.
yeah, we actually lost 2 already, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, is there any other jurisdictions in the province that actually have any clear cutting within a residential zone?
I'm not 100% sure. I know there's George Wolfville that has one good bylaw on pairs of trees. I think Annapolis Rural does too.
Okay, maybe we could task staff with looking into that for our next meeting. Okay, great. Okay, perfect, thank you. ATV usage on town streets. Got some correspondence from someone who lives in the South End. Not the South End.
Oh.
About the South End, but she lives, yeah, okay. So we have a 6-month review coming up of the ATV use anyway, on First Avenue and the trail. We're still waiting to hear about signage, the ATV group funding. So where are we, do you know where we are on that?
There's 12 signs on order with arrows. We already have the stop signs and the stop sign head signs for the trails. We just kind of need to order a few more posts so everything can be installed once it arrives. So I think I'll have everything by Christmas, but I'm not going to guarantee it. So after Christmas, we should be able to install the signage. So.
And did we decide what we're gonna do at the Marshall Yard and where we're gonna direct them to go?
So we have to look at different signage down there.
Yep.
To say they're only parking at the Marshall Yard. So right now, the signage that we have is just multi-use trail with the directional arrow which way you go when they come out or when they go in to the rail through the rail bed.
Any questions on that letter?
Is there a speed limit to be posted for ATVs separate from regular traffic, or is it same speed?
No, it's only 20 kilometers an hour.
So
20 kilometers an hour
That's in the legislation
for the ATVs?
for ATVs.
Yes.
20 kilometers an hour. So, and if they're on our designated street, which is basically First Avenue, from just below the crossing
To Carlton almost.
into, no, it doesn't go straight to Carlton.
It goes almost to Carlton, right? Where the tracks cross.
Yes. And this way it goes as far as Mount Street. And they drop down Mount Street to go across by the old Siesta.
Yeah.
And across that way.
It's 20 kilometers an hour along that area.
Yeah.
What about, just out of curiosity, what about the rest of the trails in town? Is there a speed limit there? Like from Tideview around?
It's the same.
20 kilometers an hour all the way? Okay. Thank you.
It's the posted speed limit anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can respond to this person. Tom, you know who it is. They didn't want to be identified, but perhaps you could give them that information. We have a 6-month review coming up as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Lisa, we kept in. That's it for correspondence. In new business, streetscaping and facade program. Leslie sent you the links and then later sent you the actual documents to make sure that you could get them. One is to use Tom's word, not as refined as he would like it. The other is, which one would council like to start with first?
I would start with the streetscape in the
Streetscape, okay.
It's nice to
Water
see,
Street.
it's nice to see it's off the shelf since 2019, so we can start looking at it, that's for sure. And, it was brought up at our planning meeting as well, our session on Saturday. And, I think it's time that we started talking to the business people downtown and possibly bringing back the guy that did it for us to go over it with us. And, you know, maybe it's a little outdated now, we need some new stuff added to it. But get the business input, business people input into that project and, get them to buy into it. There's no sense of having a facade program if they're not gonna buy into the streetscape really, right? Cause they gotta go hand in hand, in my opinion. They gotta be done together, so.
Just for the sake of the gallery, the streetscape program is basically a program that was developed in 2019, as the mayor said, that would look at revitalization of the main street of Digby, that would change a little bit how the curbs are, where the parking is, to narrow the road a little bit, to slow traffic down, to make it a little more accessible for people who are using it in handicap spots. There's a little bit of a bump out area like they have in Meredith.
Yeah.
There's a few different things in there for bikes. It's quite a comprehensive program.
So yeah, when we have that, the public will be invited to that as well.
Yes, yeah,
But it would be nice to bring the guy down that did it for us.
yes, absolutely. And we'll be looking for some red money.
Yeah.
Okay, so, should we formally ask staff to request that that fellow come back?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That request of staff, Tom? And the facade program, something that we should probably do a little more work with as well. I know we talked about perhaps finding the money in the grants, money that we have already, we haven't had that discussion either, to fund that program, or partially fund that program with money that's already been budgeted and existing, so that might be a little bit more of an incentive, get it going a little bit faster. And try and coordinate the street and the facade at the same time, or at least sections, north or south, from where we start, so we can do that, but yeah. And that program too has a palette for colors in it that you've seen. It's got lentils and window styles, it's got ideas for signs and how they should face and what they should be, and those kinds of things in it as well. So, I don't know where, do we actually bring that up when he comes, or maybe we can get him to look at it, maybe we can tie the two together, and he can suggest something else to go with that, or?
Yeah, I just think that when they see the streetscape program, what the theme is, then the color configuration and siding will fit in, right? So it's a nautical theme basically. So you're not gonna put maybe a bright lime green or something downtown, you're gonna have something that's, you know, more of a darker green,
Right.
forest green type thing to go with it. But I think once we see the project, right, then we need to do that, cause it's got all natural Nova Scotia flowers and berries and stuff, so it's a really nice project.
And it does have a lot of designs too that they've taken from, you know, like the scallop drags.
Yeah.
The rings of the drags, those patterns, and it's really tied together well.
Now, is that on our website, that, the streetscape, is that on there somewhere? You might wanna maybe,
It's on the website itself,
is it on the website?
it's on the cloud, but I don't know if it's on the
I
website.
don't think it's on the website.
No.
On the website. We should maybe put that on the website.
For people to see, sure.
People to take a look at it. Yeah, might be an idea.
I'd suggest maybe we wait till we do our review of it before we put it on the website, just in case there's anything that comes up that we might want to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that way, we sort of get our final idea out there before we're looking for, feedback from folks on it.
For this facade program here, I've looked it over quite a bit, and I see a lot of things there that are gonna be difficult for local businesses to afford. And
That's
some
what
of the,
That's what we were talking about, cost sharing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even so, new businesses, especially when they open up, they have to watch where they spend their money. And some of this stuff is really expensive, and some of this stuff wouldn't be worth doing as a new business, having seen a lot of businesses come and go, especially downtown here. And I think if you make it more expensive for businesses to set up downtown, they'll set up elsewhere. And I think it would be good to have a conversation about this as a council, as a group, whatever. And I'd love to point out some of the things I see that look like they wouldn't go along with what businesses can afford. And also, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have input from the businesses before we release anything to anybody else. Like, if we get their input on what they would like to see, what they can afford to do, and how they picture their business moving ahead. Because the last thing we want to do is force a business out of downtown.
A lot of those points that you made, Mr. Footer, actually what Tom was talking about was not as polished as he would like it. He would like to actually discuss those very things that you talked about.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the whole idea is to benefit downtown and the businesses, we have to clean it up and make it a destination, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
A lot of times too, that a new business coming in doesn't necessarily own the building either. So that's another component.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Councilor Weir.
Mr. Chair, is both of the funding the same monies, or they're different pots? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any more discussion on that at all? All right, we'll move on to the request for decision on a 5-ton plow truck, which you've heard in our last meeting, the costly repair bills and the inoperation of our 5-ton. Ed, if you'd like to talk about the decision you'd like us to send to council. Or Tom, whichever.
Okay. So, in the report, there are two recommendations. First recommendation is the purchase of the 2026 Peterbilt truck chassis in the amount of $255,298.85, including HST from Peterbilt Atlantic in the 2024-25 capital budget year. And the second recommendation is the purchase of the dump box plow harness and heavy duty trip edge reversible plow in the amount of $178,191.92, including HST from Peterbilt Atlantic in the 25-26 budget year. A note is in the approved 24-25 capital budget, the budgeted amount is $285,000 to be funded by debenture when the plow truck is put in service in early 2025. The 2015 plow can be declared surplus and sold. So background, on November 2nd, 2015, the council approved the purchase of the 2016 International Workstar equipped with a Tinco spreader body and 11-foot reversible plow at the price of $178,742, including HST, which replaced our 1998 International with spreader body and plow. We usually try to get at least 20 years out of this type of equipment, but the 1998 we did get 17 years, and it needed to be replaced due to excessive rust on the truck chassis and dump body. We also have a 2000 International that is still in service, but is starting to show its age. The 2016 International has not proven to be a good investment, as there have been a lot of mechanical issues with the truck. The Public Works Director done an assessment of repair and maintenance on this truck since 2020, and we have spent $85,150 in repairs and maintenance, and the truck has been out of service 369 days. The The town cannot sustain this amount of repairs and downtime. During the 24-25 capital budget deliberation, staff identified the need to replace the 2016 International due to the excessive amount of time it was out of service and related costs. The budgeted amount of $285 was our best cost estimate at the time. Since the COVID pandemic, we have experienced increased pricing in everything we purchase. We tried to estimate pricing to the best of our ability at that time. We tendered for the new truck through the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada's truck program. We are members through our association with the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. The Canoe Procurement Group does all the procurement for a vast variety of goods and services and does the work of getting RFPs that can be offered to its membership, which eliminates our public tender process. Our tender document, in our tender document, we specified that the pricing will be submitted for the supply of the chassis separate from the body and plow, which gives us the opportunity to purchase the chassis in one budget year and the body and plow in another. Plus, if we pay for the chassis when it lands at the body builder, we would take advantage of a price reduction of approximately $4,000. Research on the international trucks have indicated that other towns have experienced the same issues we have. The town of Kentville bought two around the same time we did. We bought the 2016 International, and they have already replaced one, and the other one is going to be replaced next year. And also attached is the list of the costs from 2020 until 2024. Again, total to $85,160.
Any discussion on that piece of equipment?
Yes. I believe he's on 100%. I just think right now with Ed being here, I'd like to hear what Ed thinks, Mr. Chair, of this unit as well. Thank you.
So basically, I made my recommendation to Tom. I gave him a thorough breakdown, not just the repairs we've done, but budgetary for the truck chassis versus two different types of bodies. One body with the plow was, just hang on a second. It was a lot quicker to get the one body compared to the other body. So if we go with body number 2, which was a little bit cheaper, we weren't looking at receiving the truck until 2026. So we really need the truck.
Can you talk about the functions of what the 5-ton actually does, but besides snow removal and salting?
Okay. Obviously, yes, we have snow removal and salting. So the 5-ton truck is very, very, very important to us, period. You talk about all the sidewalks we put in the past 5, 6, 7 years. We use that equipment for all of our earth moving, along with the backhoe. Just everything. Water leaks is a prime example. When we're in the middle of a major water leak, when we had the ones on King Street, for example, we had those 12-inch mains break. We had 2 operational trucks, but this one was down, so we had to hire in a truck, a 1-ton, not a 1-ton, a tandem truck to come help us with these water leaks. We use it. Sometimes we use it when we have Hurricane Dorian was another prime example. Having the extra 5 tons instead of the 1 ton. We were able to move all the trees and everything in town. Now, yes, they do not happen all the time, these big heavy storms, but they do. Right now, we're currently purchasing our salt from province of Nova Scotia at the shed here in Digby, because we were not able to find somebody last year to haul our salt from Pugwash. So having the 2 5-ton trucks, we're able to take them out and over a day or 2 period get our salt hauled back to town, so our salt shed's full. That's when we're not plowing snow. I guess the uses just go on. We see what we do with them. It's very important for us to have it. And if the other 5-ton was to go down, the old one, the 2000, we have no been a reliable piece of gear for us. And if we don't move forward on this, one of these days, we're gonna be in a severe pickle, I'm just gonna say it.
You can't rent a plow.
You can't rent stuff like that.
Councilor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, is this something that he believes is the best move for us? Out of,
I think he's made his recommendation to the CAO, yeah.
100%. Yes, we
Great.
are asking for a Peterbilt, but
Yep.
we need a good truck, something we can rely on.
So if we got a truck chassis, because a lot of that money's already been budgeted, how much longer before we could actually have an operational truck there?
I have it right here, just give me 1 second. I'll say it, dude. Right here.
So you can't just get one off the shelf, right?
No, definitely not. So, the truck chassis will be delivered in May of 2025.
Okay.
And then it would be 12 to 16 weeks for the equipment to be installed in the truck. So we would have the truck with all the equipment installed, and we would have it in August or September of 2025. And Tom was talking about a reduction of $4,000 if we paid for the truck chassis up front, and that's what they call flooring costs. So I'm assuming it's interest if it's sitting there. So I mentioned it. And the other option, the alternative equipment package, if we were to go with that, it was 52 to 60 weeks for delivery, once it was ordered, plus an additional 12 to 16 weeks, which would bring us into spring of 2026, which would mean we miss just this plowing season, we would miss the next plowing season also, which is a huge risk for us.
That's the recommendation of the CAO? Your recommendation, Tom, is to buy the chassis and the body separately?
Those are my two recommendations based on, conferring with the Director of Public Works and basically that $85,000 that we spent over the last 4 years doesn't, that's just repairs, that doesn't include when we have to rent another piece of equipment when we need it, so that's over on top of that again, so we need a truck and we have to rent one, usually we can't rent the truck, we have to rent truck and driver, and so that costs even more, right, so, so the cost of not having that truck in service is more than that $85,000. That's just in repair bills over 4 years.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that it's $58.33 every day is what we're averaging on the repairs for for the lovely new 5-ton. And at this point in time, Mr. CA, are you looking for us to make a recommendation that we take this to council? Is that over, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then at this point, I'd like to make the recommendation that we take to council the purchase of a 2026 Peterbilt truck chassis in the amount of $255,290.85, including HST from Peterbilt Atlantic in the 2024-2025 capital budget year. And you want them together or separate? Is it?
It should be separate
Should be
because,
separate, okay.
because the 178, we'll need to put in the 25-26 budget, right, so.
All right, then I'll move that we make that recommendation, that we take that, item number 1 to council.
Okay, have a second. Second? All those in favor of that motion? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, the motion is carried. Do you want a second motion now? For the dump box?
Motion number 2 now, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'll move that we take the purchase of a dump box, plow harness, and heavy duty trip edge reversible plow in the amount of $178,191.92, including HST, from Peterbilt Atlantic in the 2025-2026 budget year to be taken to council for motion there.
So we would understand, so it's a 2025-2026
Right.
budget. But that's part 2 for the bottom. Okay, seconder for that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Oh, and just a quick question
Yes.
for that, do we have a rough idea of what the essentially defunct
5-ton truck's gonna be worth on,
Resale.
on resale?
Not much if they see this meeting.
I'm gonna say 85,000 something.
We redact some of that,
So
they can't see it.
I did do some research on that too. So going by what some of the other trucks are sold that are
Just
similar to
book
ours,
value.
yeah, it's $45,000 to $60,000 in potential resale.
So we could recall.
Worth that.
Okay.
What's the time, could we recoup that before the body arrives, but we have the chassis?
I don't see why not.
Okay. Cause it's not much good to you now, not running, or more repairs, or, yeah.
Once we get past the plowing season, then if we want to put it up for sale, I see no issue.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor, second, do we have, call for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion is carried, the ayes have it. Very well. And H3 is the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators. That is, CAO. Oh, the mayor?
Yeah, I
So,
brought
okay.
that up. Yeah, at our orientation, they mentioned this association, and it's the CAOs that attended, and it's more of a national thing, like FCM is for us. And we talked about it at the executive meeting, and I would recommend that Tom look into if it's worthwhile for us to join that. Yarmouth is part of that, and they seem to be getting a lot of money, so I don't know whether that would be beneficial to us or not, but if you could look into possibly joining that and seeing if it's worthwhile.
Did you say you knew the cost?
It wasn't much.
Wasn't much.
300 and something.
300, but there's,
You get a discount or something.
but there'd be a couple of conventions in there, so.
We have a request to, look into that a little further?
Yeah.
All right. And we'll bring that to our next meeting,
Or to council,
or council, whichever you prefer.
yeah, whatever he comes up with.
Okay, that sounds good. Fair enough, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. And we do have an in-camera item.
No, we're still at H4.
H4 contest, Christmas contest winners.
Okay, Christmas decoration contest, we got the winners. Guess who it is? We went around last night and seen a bunch of places. They were amazing. I mean, it was really fun to see everybody participate. It was some really good streets. We got some good ideas for next year. But this year, we did a little bit of a numbered system, kind of as anybody can see, if it's on camera or whatever. And the numbers came up pretty close, I'll be honest. But Al Dupuis, of course, wins first place. The place is amazing. He did more this year than ever. Second place, Sean LeBlanc's house, 160 King Street, which is amazing. He did the back end and the front. It's beautiful. I suggest everyone to go take a look at it. And then, of course, Reed Ross, also on the same street as Al, at the end of the corner there, in front of Neil's. They came third place, so congratulations to those guys. And next year, hopefully, we get bigger prizes and more fun. Thank you.
Great. And we'll just take a 5-minute break while we get ready for our in-camera session. And thank the public for coming. Thank you, Seconder. Seconder for the motion?
Second.
Second.
Hit that before you hit your thing all on camera.
And motion for adjournment.
Second.
Thank you, William.